home or business with a Vivint smart home system.
Call 800-510-7517. That's 800-510-7517. Call now, 800-510-7517.
This portion of ESPN LA is brought to you by the law offices of Jacob and Ronnie. If you've been injured, call Jacob 24 hours a day at 844-24-JACOB or online at calljacob.com.
We're getting you closer to the Lakers, Rams, Dodgers, USC, and more. This is ESPN LA 710, KSPN Los Angeles. Welcome to Trojans Live, the exclusive USC Trojans coaches show.
Place is down, the kick is away, it's got the distance.
He's got it!
And it's good! And there's no time on the clock. The scoreboard clock reads 0-0-0, and the Trojans have won it.
Behind-the-scenes insights and breaking news from the student-athletes who play for the Cardinal and Gold.
Jones to get the call on the right side, and he's in the end zone for a touchdown, USC.
Trojans Live is brought to you by Cooper Tires. Count on Cooper, an American company since 1914.
Now here are Jordan Moore and John Jackson.
Hello and welcome to Trojans Live on ESPN LA 710 and Facebook Live. Spring has sprung. I'm a little bit chilly. It doesn't really feel like spring, but it is spring football time, and that's what we are going to talk about for the next hour. Trojans are fresh off the practice field. The first of 15 practices over the next 6 weeks is in the books. Tonight we will preview spring ball and the quarterback competition with the head coach Clay Helton, the new quarterback coach Brian Ellis, and two of the competitors, Matt Fink and Jack Sears. I am Jordan Moore alongside John Jackson and JJ. It's obviously the headline story going into spring football. Got to replace Sam Darnold.
Yeah, and it's going to be obviously tough, virtually impossible to do. But, I mean, the Trojans have quarterbacks that have been in the system, you know, sort of understand what's going on. So, I mean, that's what that's the one thing about coaching, right? You never get to keep these guys for long. You don't get to sign them to long-term deals. Although I'd love to have Sam back, we got to move on.
Somebody's going to sign Sam to a long-term deal,
That's
but it's
right.
not going to be USC. All right, we're going to talk to the head coach now, Clay Helton, brought to you by Cooper Tires. They know that the 4 tires on your vehicle are what connect you to the road and help keep you safe. Count on Cooper and visit coopertires.com today. All right, Coach, as you're fresh off the practice field, as I said, how was it? How was it to get back out there with the first practice of the new year?
Oh, it was great. You know, anytime you get back out there and you have, you know, some new coaches that are on board,
Yep.
you have some young kids that are coming on board, a couple midtermers, and then some young kids you get to have a chance to develop. It's a new team and a new dynamic. Yep. And, you know, you were talking about Sam, but not only are you losing a 4,000-yard passer, but you're losing a 1,500-yard rusher and a 1,100-yard receiver. You know, so now it's the opportunity to develop some kids that, you know, have been, you know, right behind those starters and waiting for their time. And now it's our time to develop them as a coaching staff and put them in positions where they can be successful.
You know, Coach, obviously spring brings, you know, certain positions that there's going to be competition, the quarterback spot and several other spots. There's going to be competition where guys have graduated in the past. But also there's guys that are just trying to get better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just, you know, just overall get better. Where do you sort of draw the line as a coach? How much of it is important? I mean, obviously you want the team to get better, but how much is it important to solve some position battles here as well as getting guys to improve?
Well, the beauty of it, JJ, as we have right now, is you have 40 practices. You have 15 in the spring, and now you have 25 with the new rule in the fall. So you have 40 opportunities. And right now, what I've stressed to our kids and what I've stressed to our coaches, yes, do we eval every practice? Yes. Do we look at guys and see how they're developing? Yes. But really for us right now at all positions, it's about education. It's about how much can we take a kid from practice 1 to practice 15 and get him ready to compete against a Texas and a Stanford and a Notre Dame and a Pac-12 competitor. And that's where we've got to go, not only at the quarterback position, but all positions. Because, you know, when you think about this team, and I looked at it today, I was like, wow, it's a deep team. There may not be a superstar right now. There'll probably be one by the end of the season. But when I look at it across the board at the 1 and the 2 deep, you got some really solid, talented players, great college players that are going to develop into superstars, I think, in the future.
Well, as we said, we'll talk to Matt Fink and Jack Sears as this show goes on. What have you told them? What is the plan for the quarterback competition, not only this spring but also in fall camp?
Yeah, I said, guys, these first 15 practices is about education. All right, none of y'all have had a ton of reps.
Yeah.
There's 3 of them out there throwing the ball around, but none of y'all have had a ton of reps in live games. 2 of them have had none. So it's about them getting into a competitive level and really progress. I don't want them to throw the ball and go, "Oh my God, did I just lose the job?" I want them to throw the ball with confidence and say, "You know what? That was my read. I let it go. I got better today." That's how you train quarterbacks, and you keep on building and building. And when you get to practice 40, you play the one that's playing the best, and you play the one that you have the most confidence in that moment to go out and do the job, whoever that might be. So we're not going to name a quarterback at the end of spring. We're going to go through training camp and be able to have at all positions, the members that we have on our team plus the new kids that are coming on, and evaluate everybody, and then make our 2 deep, when we go into that last week and decide who's best for our team in that moment right now to step out there first.
For me, when I look at this team and think about what you're replacing, you talked about the talented players, but there's also a leadership component that also left through graduation. Whether it be Ronald Jones and the way he's matured last year and sort of came on and became the leader that he was just because he played great, or Sam leaving and becoming the voice of the huddle. How much of that are you trying to develop in this spring ball to develop a leader for this offense?
Yeah, I think it's really important on the offensive side of the ball, because when you look on defense, I literally to see Big Porter walk back out there and do what he does. I mean, the way he practices, everybody just falls in line. And Cam's that leader, John Houston's that leader, Marvin Tell's that leader, Biggie's that leader, Ajane. On the offensive side, it's some guys that are stepping up. I really go back and I think, gosh, how important was it to keep a Toa Lobendon and a Chuma Adoga, from staying, a Chris Brown for staying here, to watch Michael Pittman and Tyler Vaughns grow up before our eyes in the second half of the season. And even today, you could see the confidence in them, pushing the younger guys that were below them. So it's really neat to be able to see that next. We call it a brotherhood. And the older brother teaches the younger brother how to do it here at USC, what it means to be a Trojan, how you practice, how you compete, and then that older brother leaves, and it's your time as a young brother to move up and now teach another youthful man that's coming in.
Yeah, when you talk about these young guys, be it at the quarterback position or, I also think about it in terms of trying to replace a guy like Deontay Burnett, how much of that education is really the mental side of the game. And we always talk about the famous Rose Bowl throw, right? That was as much Deontay reading that play correctly as it was Sam Darnold. And you have a lot of guys who they're physically talented, but is that education as much as anything on the mental side of the game?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, Jordan, it's to be able to grasp this playbook, and I tell you what I saw today, what was just evident. It is so important to keep the consistency and stability in your coordinators, because going into the 3rd year of a defensive system and the 3rd year of an offensive system, even with special teams with Coach Bax, the practice was extremely fluid. It was communicative. Usually when you get a new staff together and it's the first practice and new guys are out there, nobody talks and nobody says a word and they're all mutes. But today, just the communication that was happening with motion, shifts, being able for guys to talk to one another, you just knew they've had so many reps, they're comfortable with it. And to be able to keep Clancy T and Bax in those coordinator roles and have that consistency to keep them on this staff, I think was so important going into this season.
Last year, one of the strengths of this offense was the running back position of obviously Ronald Jones, and you were 3-4 deep at times, and had a lot of guys playing. And then you look up today and you're minus some guys. I mean, some are due to injury, things that, a lot of things have happened at that running back spot. How concerned are you, first of all, and then what other guys are you looking for to step up for this spring, especially to have good springs?
Yeah, in my 24 years of experience, I've always thought it's extremely important to play guys, especially skilled guys, running backs, receivers, tight ends, and you see us do that here. You have a Deontay Burnett and a Stephen Mitchell that led the way, but then you see a Tyler Vaughns and a Michael Pittman out there doing their thing also and blossoming them, a Velus Jones, a Trayvon Sidney, a Joshua Mortabebe, and we did the same thing with the running backs. Even though Ronald Jones was 1,500 yards, you saw contributions from Ced Ware, from Vi, from and to be able to, even Stephen Carr when healthy, and to be able to have those 3 gentlemen with those reps, coming back. It's not like their first time stepping in the game. Vi Malape finished a game off for Stanford and ended the game. Said Ware, when we were banged up, had a 100-yard ball, had a huge game. And Stephen Carr lit the world on fire. So they all have experience. And so I have a confidence in them, and I thank goodness that we invest in those reps in ball games.
All right, we've got another segment with Coach Helton coming up. For those of you watching on Facebook Live, throw in maybe some of your spring ball questions in the comments. We'll see if we can get to them in the next segment. We're counting down the kickoff with Mito, Swiss watches since 1918, the official timekeeper of USA Athletics. Be the first to own the Fight On limited edition timepiece. True Trojan fans, visit shopmito.com/USC. That's shopmito, MIDO.com/USC. More Trojans Live next.
Want a great 6-inch